right, good afternoon everybody and welcome to a Reactive Sydney live stream. Today we're going to be doing, today we're going to be looking at the Dynamics 365 Finance Supply Chain Management and how to streamline your integrations. Just some quick housekeeping. The session will be recorded today and shared with you later on. You'll be able to find it on our YouTube channel. And if you do have any questions for today's session, please pop them in the Q&A and we will answer them at the end of the session. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Faisal. Thanks, Faisal.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Let me start sharing my screen. I hope you can see the screen.
Yep, you're all good to go.
A little bit here. All right. So thank you so much, Sydney Reactor, Microsoft Reactor, and special thanks to Nadia for giving me this opportunity and allowing me to do another session on Microsoft Reactor. Today we are going to look at what are the integration strategies we should be doing in order to integrate Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations with the third-party applications within an external world, also with Power Platform, what are the options available, and also with the customer engagement, which is the CDS environment. So that's a brief overview about this. So a little bit about myself. My name is Faisal. I'm working as a Dynamic 365 Finance and Operations Technical Lead at DXC Technology. I am the Dynamic 365 Power Platform user group leader for Pakistan. I've been running for this since last couple of months now. And if you want to reach out to me about anything about the user groups, sessions, community work, any finance and operations, technical and functional understanding, here are my here are my contact details. I do write my blog. I do have my YouTube channel. You can follow me on my YouTube channel. You can find my blog, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Have been working into this industry since last 12 years. Specifically around my skill set is area about development, integrations, implementations, and the reporting stuff. When we say reporting, it's actually the built-in reporting in finance and operations called SSRS reporting. Very simple agenda for today is what are the integration patterns and strategies we should be doing, and make your correct choice while implementing any integration pattern for your implementation. So the two straight points. What are the integration patterns and strategies we will be talking about, and which one is the correct one for your implementation. Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations provides you these 7 out-of-the-box integration patterns. Start is the first one is the DualRight. We will go each and into every options in details in a couple of minutes. So DualRight, we have classic data integration. We have OData, which we use for data migration, data integration, and then we have the batch data APIs. Very powerful APIs, out of the box APIs available with finance and operations. You can make calls to import and export data. You can write your own custom web services within finance and operations using X++ language. If you are a developer, you can extend out of the box custom web services too. You can write a code within finance and operations to consume external web services. If you want to consume a web service which is available for currency exchange rates, price quotations. Some third-party applications have written some custom web services. You can consume those web services within finance and operations. And last but not the least is Excel integration. Very robust and powerful feature coming out of the box with finance and operations is Excel integration. So let's see what are the synchronizations and asynchronization integration patterns we have. So first we understand what is the synchronous pattern is. Whenever a, a callee make a call and then it has to wait for that to for the other part of the request to respond. So what does it mean here? A synchronous pattern, it's a blocking request and response pattern. You make a call and now you are blocked. You will wait for the other party to respond you. So until and unless the other party doesn't respond to you, it is you are in a blocking state right now. As we talked in previous slides, so the custom web services and OData, these are synchronous patterns. You make a call to finance and operations using OData and custom web services. It actually puts you onto a blocking state until and unless a business process, a business logic triggers and performs the action for you. On the other side, we also have the asynchronous integration pattern, which is not a blocking is a pattern where a caller submits the request and then continues without waiting for a response. This is where we actually use the back data APIs. So in these patterns, when you got a request, we are going to integrate finance and operations with any third-party applications, with other apps of the Microsoft, which are Business Central, customer engagement, sales and marketing, field services. If you want to integrate these applications all together, you need to understand what are your requirements. You want to have a data jet, you want to follow the synchronous pattern or you want to follow the asynchronous. Asynchronous patterns are very good with the large volume of data, but there is no proper definition how large data would be. But for a safe side, we can say it may be 10,000 records. If you want to import and export 10,000 records, your best bet would be your asynchronous patterns using the back data APIs. We will go in a short what are these back data APIs. Before going further, we can also use custom web services to make it a mixture of synchronous and asynchronous patterns. We can write code to make custom web services also are asynchronous patterns. How it works, we will see when we reach to the custom web services. So these are the considerations which you have to keep into your mind when you are designing your integrations. First point, is there a business requirement for a real-time integration or not? When you say real-time integration means you create a customer in finance and operations. Do you really want to see the same customer at the same time into another application? Let's say into your customer engagement or CDS environment or any other third application. So these are the questions you should be asking yourself and to the customer while architecturing the integration patterns. What are the requirements for the peak data volume? How much data they will be sending, like importing or exporting during the peak time, and how frequently they will be sending and receiving data from finance and operations. When you have all these 3 points listed down, you will be able to find out what pattern I should be following from all these patterns. which we have already discussed. These are the 7 different integration patterns we have with financial operations. Now to start with first 2 patterns, it's DualRight and classic data integration patterns. If we see this table here, we are explaining the DualRight here. So the DualRight is synchronous pattern and bidirectional. It is synchronous pattern. You create a request in finance and operations, you create some data in finance and operation, it will go back to your CDS environment. DualRight is a tightly bound integration between finance and operations and CDS. It does not work with finance and operations and business centrals. It doesn't work with finance and operations and any other third-party applications. There are other uh, platforms, other options available to make that integration happen. But if we specifically talk about DualRight, this is the integration, tightly integration architecture between finance and operations and CDS environment. It is synchronous, as we said, you can write in both ways. You cannot batch this one, means you cannot schedule a data. Since it is a synchronous process, you cannot batch it. Technology, it actually uses the OData. OData is a protocol which actually sends your message across different applications. So what are the applications available from finance and operations point of view? We have finance, we have a supply chain. Now we know these finance and supply chain, these are 2 apps from Dynamics 365, finance and operations and supply chain. Then we have a commerce, with e-commerce, service industry, and then core HR, which also, and then these applications from finance and operations actually, and if we talk about from model-driven apps in Dynamics 365, we have this list of apps available which we integrate between finance and operations and Dynamics 365 model-driven apps. So you can integrate this list all together using the DualRight. And it will always be synchronous. Whereas if we talk about the classic data integration came before the DualRight. It was a unidirectional, means if you define a process, I want to send a purchase order from finance and operations to customer engagement, which is one of the model driven app in Dynamics 365. You can define one-way direction. It is asynchronous, means it actually runs onto your DIXF service, data import and export service. So it actually runs. You can schedule this one in Power Platform. You can schedule this one, and based on to that schedule, or you can say batch. Batch is actually, or schedule is the same terminology. You can schedule this one, and based on to your schedule or recurrent, it runs and gets and data from finance and operations sent to the CDS environment in one of the apps here, and vice versa. There is with the classic data integration, it is pretty much very much useful with large volume of data. When we talk about you run those processes overnight, and off peak time it will run the data and will process your data across different applications, different apps under Dynamics 365. With different apps, if we talk about different apps here, finance and operation is one of the apps of Dynamics 365 now. Sales and marketing, field services, talent, automation, project services, these are other apps into Dynamics 365, and these are all are model-driven apps. With the classic data integration, it requires a lot of manual process. You have to create a project on connections, connection sets, and then you have to define your recurrence. Whereas DualRight, this is an inbuilt framework which lives into the finance and operations. I'll show you in a bit where it lives if you haven't seen it as of now, or you may refer to my previous presentation on to Microsoft uh, Reactor. I talked about these two, DualRight and classic data integration, in details previously. You can also find me more details about these two different patterns on my blog and YouTube channel.
Faisal, just quickly before we move on, we have got a question that's come through from Mandeep. And Mandeep wants to know, how are both of these terms related?
Sorry, which one, sorry?
How are both of these terms related? So I think this was just previously before we started talking about this.
So these two different terms, DualRight is a real-time integration. So if we think about, you create a record in finance and operation, it will go straight away to the target environment, which is one of the model-driven apps in Dynamics 365. So there is no delay. If a record got failed there in creating, the whole transaction will get abort here. So you will not be able to write data back into until and unless all the validation got passed. This is the DualRight. Whereas in data integration is a schedule based. You run the process, it runs at a certain time. Maybe you can set run it. I created a customer back into finance and operations at 12 p.m. Initiate the job at 12:15 p.m. and then it will initiate the job at 12:15 and start writing data from your source to target applications. DualRight also have an option to run data into asynchronous pattern, which I can show you in a bit. Also, in regards to the more details, how DualRight works with asynchronous patterns, uh, you can follow my blogs and YouTube channel, but I can also show you in a bit with an example how the DualRight works with asynchronous pattern. So, but by that, I'll just hold this question for now. With this one, we talked about DualRight and classic data integration pattern from finance and operations point of view. What's next we have is OData. To understand the OData, we need to understand the very robust and powerful framework from finance and operations. Out of the box, it's called data management framework. Data management framework can be used for three different options here. One's called configuration, second is integration, and then we have the data migration. When we talk about the configuration, it's actually you are configuring your environment for the very first time after you go live, or you are configuring your environment with your master data, with your GST, taxes, account structure. You are building the environment right now. This configuration can be once you are done with this configuration into an environment, you can export this configuration and upload this configuration into your lifecycle services project where all the environments are hosted. Once you are the second point is integration. You can use this data management framework to integrate with any other applications using OData protocol. You can also do your data migration stuff here between different companies within an environment. When we say different data copy, it's a legal entity or a company concept in finance and operations where we copy data between one entity to another entity. You can also copy data from your legacy system into your finance and operations environment, and you can also export data to your external systems also. Now, if I'll quickly jump to my environment now, and whatever we have discussed as of now, I quickly wanted to show you so that we understand what we have discussed. So if we go back to here, this slide here, this is a DualRight step. Now, if we go back, this is how the finance and operations application looks like. So that is my data management module here. If we go to the DualRight here, this actually shows you my DualRight in how the DualRight is configured for this particular environment. So environments are a bit slow today due to the known outage. So please bear with me while this comes back. So this is how the DualRight lives within finance and operations here. You can see this is my finance and operations environment. This is how the DualRight, I have configured the DualRight here, and I can see uh, all the DualRight entity maps available here out of the box. And I have customized these DualRight entity maps. I have created my own and extended the out of the box one. Now, if we just go and wanted to show you not the ones which are which can run asynchronous patterns, I'll just filter onto the not running patterns here, and let's see, I'll just take the small one for now. Let's say colors one. So I click onto this DualRight entity map here. So DualRight entity map is actually a combination of data entities from finance and operations and CDS environment. So this colors is one of the data entity in finance and operations, and this MSD and YN product colors is one of the is the name from CDS environment. As you can see, I'll just zoom this one in. You can see this is common data services. So this is the name, product color is the name from common data services of an entity. Here, if I'll just try to run this entity map here, it gives you two options: initial sync. Do you want to do the initial sync or not? If you say, okay, I want to do the initial sync, what does it mean? Initial sync, you want to copy all your data from source to target environment, what is available into each of the environments. So when we say I want to keep my master finance and operations, means you are saying my source is finance and operations and my common data services is my target environment. I want to keep my finance and operations as a master of data. You will do the initial sync. Once you do this and you run this one, in the back end, it runs the data integrator here. So it runs your data integration automatically. So DualRight does contain the data integration, but the only difference you have with having a DualRight for the data integration, you won't be able to see all these project connections and connection sense into your Power Platform. So if we run this one, it will do the initial sync, which uses the data integrator. If I would say I don't want to run the initial sync, just say yes. And if you will say I want to keep it to a running state, I'm just going to cancel this one. I'll show you what are the jobs running right now. So these are all our jobs which are running right now. If we create a new asset into finance and operation, it will go and straight away it will create a new customer asset back into CDS environment. So that is the concept of DualRight and the classic data integration. This is where these two applications get differentiated, and there is a proper reason we should be using the data integrator when we have the high volume of data copying from one environment to another environment, which we say using the classic data integrator. Now, if we talk about OData. So OData means, if we're going back to this data management workspace here, this is called data management framework, which I was referring to into my slide deck. It's called data management framework here. I'll just quickly refresh this one. As I said, the environments are a bit slow today. So it comes back to the data management framework. This is your one stop with the whole set of a lot of integrations. So what we have here, we have the list of data entities available. These are all the data entities available which we can use to integrate with third-party applications, providing these data entities are exposed externally. Not every data entity is exposed externally. We want to keep some of the data entities to use internally within finance and operations, specifically for budget, for account structure, for some financial calculations. We want to keep these one internally. These are the available out of the box data entities. We also have created a lot. You can create new custom data entities yourself. So this is extensible, this is robust framework from Microsoft. What we do here now, if we going, this is the very generic concept about data entities. Now, if you want to export a data from finance and operations, if I will say, I want to say some data for project here, and I'll choose my data entity here. This way I can name customer and group. Let's say customer groups. I want to export my customer group. The reason I'm saying export, I created a project of export type. It also shows here export. These are out of the box data formats available, except these ones, BYOD. Don't worry about these ones for now. So we can export into your Excel, we can export into the package semicolon separated XML. We can export data into all these formats here. So with this one, I'll just go, I'll say, okay, I want to export my Excel data into Excel format. Click add, close. All my data entity got added here. You can even filter your data if you want to say, okay, I don't want to export all the customer group. I just want to group which has a customer group general. And even though you can view the mappings which have been generated between your entity, this is your entity field, and that will be your target. That target will be visible as a columns into your Excel file. You can view these one. You can change the mappings manually here. Once we will export this one, it will start exporting the data into your Excel format. So let's do this. Before we do this one, there are a couple of options here. I want to do export now, and I can set this into a batch. So once we do export in batch, it actually gives me an option to recur. So I can schedule this one recurrence. I can schedule this one maybe once a day, twice a day, or how many minutes, and for how long, and finish after this time of count. So you can play around with recurrencing, and then if I will set this one here, it will be doing maybe weekly basis, monthly basis, daily basis, based on to your selection. I'm going to cancel this option, and I will say, okay, I just want to export it now. So this data will get exported. It is running, and once it's done, it will start exporting the data. I got one record exported. You can see your staging data. So staging data is actually it's a table between your data entity and your target data table. So it actually stores the data here. If you want to uh, keep the selection, if you want to see the data into your staging table, there is an option where you can select here. If you go back to the previous screen where we actually initiated the process, so I would say I want to add one more data entity here, and this is skip staging. So if you don't want to skip, in our first example where customer groups we exported, we actually skip this one. So if this is the reason it doesn't show data into your staging table, but if you don't want to skip, you can uncheck this one, and the data whatever it has exported into the Excel file, it will show into the staging data also. So now since we have closed those screens, we can go back to this main screen here. It actually shows you all the data projects you have created. This is the project, this is the type here, export, and it has created execution history here. You can go back to the execution details and you can download a file here. You can download a file, you can download a package here. So a package means it also download a file and a manifest. So I have downloaded both here. So first I'll open the Excel file to show you how it looks like. So this is my Excel file which I have exported. So for your configuration, initial configuration for the initial data transfer from another application to financial operations, this is the best way. You just create a template out of this one, and then you can just take this data off and share this as a template to your client and ask them to fill data into this proper format here. If they are done, just import, create a new project here of import type, and whatever the file your customer has provided you. So if I'll just uh, you provide your entity name here. In this case, that would be your customer group, and upload the file which your customer has provided you. It will do automatically all the mappings for you, providing you do not change any column headers into that file. It will do all the field mappings for you, and you can just import this data back into finance and operations. That's it. The other file which we have downloaded here uh, is your package. What it has your file here which we downloaded separately. It has your manifest file which is an XML of the complete uh, of this particular entity, and the package header which contains all the header information for this particular package. Using this particular package here, what we can do, we can create we can do two more type of integrations, which I'm just going back to this PowerPoint slides here, and that's called batch data API. So there are two options: recurring integration. If we're going back to the financial operations, this is where we say create recurring data jobs. If you click onto this create recurring jobs, all it asks you to just name this one description if you want to, and if you want to say, okay, I want to use my batch group here, I want to schedule this one, you can also set the scheduling. So you can batch this one, you can schedule this one for a certain time or a day, or you need to set up an application ID. What does it mean here? You have to create a new Azure application uh, ID into your Azure portal, and then add that application ID here. This way, it actually allows you to connect to authenticate your external application to for financial operations. If anyone will try to connect with finance and operations using any external applications. If they do not have this proper application ID, they will not be able to connect with that one, your financial operations. So this is an authentication here. They have to provide this proper application ID to connect with finance and operations. And then once you have provided this one, you can say what are the data source type here. It will be a file or a data package. As we have seen here, we actually downloaded both file or data package. If we say file here, so what they are going to do, they are going to place a file somewhere. In case of an import process, which we are talking right now, import process here, they are going to place a file somewhere. And once uh, this job is actually scheduled, it will be checking after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a new file has been generated there, and it's going to read that file and process and upload that data back into finance and operations. If that is a data package here, so data package is whenever the data package will be created as part of your export job. As we have seen, when we exported the customer group, we actually downloaded the data package, which contains your manifest and Excel file itself. So your external application is going to read your manifest XML files and manipulate data as per the requirement. So this is another way of integrating with finance and operations using the recurring job integration. There is a GitHub example available from Microsoft in order how to achieve this recurring integration and what's required, what are the steps. Everything is detailed onto that GitHub project and also on Microsoft Docs article. Now, if we're going back to this one, data management package REST API, this is another way of doing the integration using this second option for batch data API. If we talk about this, what we will be choosing between these two. So if talk about recurring integration, if you are doing the scheduling, which we have seen, if you want to schedule something into finance and operation, this is the option you are looking for. Formats available as we seen, files and data packages. You can transform your data. If the data files are coming as an XML files, you can define your XSLTs, and then it actually transform your data. Supported protocols for this type of integrations are SOAP and REST. Both are supported, and these are the custom web services. Custom services. It is available since 2016, so it's pretty mature and solid as of now. And then if we talk about the data management framework APIs, if you are scheduling something outside of finance and operations, let's say you have a .NET application, you want to send us some data back into finance and operations on maybe regular basis, daily basis, hourly basis. So when we are saying you want to send some data on hourly or daily basis or a certain period of time, means like you are defining this frequency, and you will be scheduling and everything outside of financial operations. It only supports with data packages and transformations. You have to do your transformations that is external to the system. You have to make sure this actually makes a call through REST API, which you can definitely do with any external applications. You even using the Postman, you want to send some data back into finance and operations, you can test using the Postman, and you can also write your .NET applications and so forth. So quick overview or a summary of recurring integrations. So recurrent integration, as we saw, it actually builds onto the data entities. We saw customer group as a data entity and the data management framework we have seen. It allows you to exchange documents and file between finance and operation and third-party application, which we talked. If you have set up the file as a type, you can send documents across. transformation it does, it actually uses the REST API framework. Data management a package API, it has these out of the box API available for you to use. If you want to import anything back into finance and operations, you can use these functions for this particular data management package API. If you want to get something exported from finance and operations, you can use these 2 points. If you want to check the status uh, of your call, you can make a call to this particular method here. With the complete syntax and explanation is given in detail, very well documented on Microsoft Docs article. I also copied these methods directly from the Microsoft Docs article. So it's always a good idea to keep referring the Microsoft Docs article, as technology is evolving days and nights in hourly basis. So these are the 1 point, and always a truthful resource to go back and check what's new now. So we talked about all 4 options here as of now, batch data APIs. Now, if we go further and we say we have the custom services here. For the custom services, we have to write a code into finance and operations. These services are for the ones who can write and understand the X++ development. X++ development is actually, X++ is a language to use a code into finance and operation. So if you are a developer, you definitely need a development experience and understanding to write your custom services here. But custom services is deployed to the whenever you deploy any custom service, it got deployed to two endpoints, SOAP endpoint and JSON endpoint. So there are a couple of examples if you want to see, okay, how the SOAP endpoint will be look like. So this is the URL part, https colon / and then onebox.dynamics.com. This is a URL of finance and operations environment. Then we are defining the SOAP and then the services, and this is the my custom web service called user session service, and that is the WSDL output file for that particular service. If we talk about the JSON endpoint, this is how it got deployed, and you can access the JSON format using this particular URL here. And one of the examples I am just showing here, AIF user session services. I just want to get my get user session info. So it returns into a JSON format, and you can write it back into any other external application you want to. You can use that JSON format anywhere. There is a GitHub repository available which has a complete code example for how to write the JSON endpoint and how to create a custom web service and how to use that one. I have been using Postman for all my JSON custom web services. You can test it easily. You can send data to finance and operations using OData, and you can retrieve data using OData and through Postman. So it has been very useful for me as of now. So that was just the trick. If you want to go with the custom web services, you can use Postman to start with. Last is second last is consume external web services. So it requires because it requires a coding. Before we go into the consume external web services, I just wanted to show you the Excel integration. So Excel integration is also a very powerful feature within finance and operation. You can import and export data here. The way it works here, I'm just quickly taking you to the another screen here. If we see the customers here, and onto the customer screen, it's taken, maybe I've just taken a wrong screen. A lot of customers, it's going to take a little bit time to open. Okay, so, and this is my development environment. So performance is not always that bad into all the environments. So if you click onto this particular icon here, it's a Microsoft Office icon. You can open these customer here in Excel, and you can export the file directly into the Excel. So if we see that I just want to export the all the customer into my Excel file, you can export this one. This is your static file. You open this one, you can play around with this data, you can compare it, you can verify all my data, all my customer looks fine, everything is all good. Then if you want to see, I want to go open in Excel, download it. So that is the another powerful feature, which is using the Excel connectors here. Now if you open this file here, enable editing, it is going to connect and are going to using the authentication too, and it's going to add you. And I will say, okay, I want to log into finance and operation. It will ask me, okay, which user you want to use, and then you have to provide your credentials there. Once you are connected, you are authenticated, it will download all the data here, and from there you can add a new customer directly from Excel, and you can update any information here. And once you are done, it will give you an option here, publish that information. It will go back and write data back into finance and operations. So this is all out of the box, and this is how the Excel integration works with the export and import process. Now we talked about the Excel integration. The last bit is consume external web services. This is it requires a coding, and this screenshot is taken from Microsoft Docs article. So all this is very well documented, and steps are giving there. You have to follow these 7 steps in order to you to write a new class into finance and operations and making a call to external web service. So with this one, I would like to thanks to everyone, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Your feedback matters, and I have put a link here for me to provide a feedback.
Awesome, thanks Faisal. We did have a question come through as well, and it's quite funny because you were talking about the updates and everything, and so someone has asked, what do you think is the best update from Microsoft Ignite around D365 supply chain management?
From Microsoft Ignite, actually, Microsoft Ignite is not the platform where they announce any updates from finance and operations point of view. We have a business application event coming on 1st of October. There they will be announcing more features and updates coming. What are the new features available from finance and operations and supply chain?
Perfect. So stay tuned for that for whoever asked the question for the 1st of October. So while we're at it, I'm just going to do a quick update of the upcoming events at the Reactor. So thank you to all who joined us today. If you do want to see the events we have up and coming and you want to RSVP, please go to our meetup page, which is meetup.com/Microsoft Reactor Sydney. You can also follow us on Twitter, and you can find most of the session recordings on our YouTube channel. It takes a couple of days for it to be uploaded. And if you are interested in the Microsoft Reactor and you want to know a bit more about what we do, or you're keen to get involved, you can email us at reactorset@microsoft.com. We also have a survey link as well. I'll pop it in the Q&A. It's just to let us know if you want to see more sessions like this, if you want to see more of Faisal, all that kind of stuff. You can leave it at aka.ms/reactor/survey. I'll also pop in the event code, which is 11906. That's just so we know it's from the session. So up and coming tonight, we have a session on Microsoft Learn. We'll be going through, it's a Microsoft Learn one-on-one session. So we'll be with Lisa Crosby, who is a Microsoft MVP. She'll be taking us through what Microsoft Learn is and how we can utilize all the documentation and everything to get certified with Microsoft. So that is tonight at 6 o'clock. And then tomorrow night, the Reactor have kicked off a new series called the Thought Leadership Series. So this is going to be led by Microsoft Regional Directors, which are part of the MVP program. So our first topic is discussing how to remain relevant in a virtual world. And so we're going to be discussing things around how do we humanize online events? What's the difference of online events and how can we make it better? Could we make it more innovative with VR? So bring a lot of your questions. It's just going to be a very casual and quick discussion. And also this week on the 1st of October, we are running a virtual eye with HoloLens session. So this is going to be looking into the AI and AR of HoloLens. This is a really interesting session, the first HoloLens session we've run at the reactor. So don't forget to RSVP. So thank you again to everyone who joined the session today. Again, follow us, join our community, see what else we've got going on. And I want to say a big thank you to Faisal as well for coming on and taking the time to take us through Dynamics 365 Finance and how to streamline integrations. So without further ado, we'll see you all next time. Bye.